Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome everybody to my channels, Muslims and non-Muslims. And today I want to talk about the oppression of women. Or not so much. And I want to address some issues that seem to come up a lot, that I seem to hear about a lot, that have always bothered me. Okay. First of all, I talk to some feminist groups, and I have friends who claim to be feminists, and I hear some things that I guess just don't really resonate with me, just don't really make sense to me, because it seems like all people, women and men, should all have rights, of course, right? And I'm not against that. But here's the problem. Men and women are 1,000,000% equal. We are. And Islam teaches us this. But the problem is men and women are not the same. We are equal, we are not the same. So all human beings should be treated with the utmost respect and dignity, but not necessarily the same. For example, I'll use an analogy here for better understanding. When we're judging some sort of a, let's say, competition of, I don't know, strength, or something like that, right? And there are children's teams, and then there are adult teams. Would you judge the children team and the adult team the same? Would you have the children compete with the adults? Of course not. Or even the men with the women. Would you judge the women on bodybuilding the same as you would judge the men? Well, of course not, because it's all about equity and equality, but they're not the same. So you don't treat them the same. You don't judge them the same. So although they are equal, they're not the same. And to me, some of these feminist groups and some things I hear a lot from people, they seem more like these women want to be men. We have to understand that everybody deserves rights and equal rights, but not always should be treated the exact same. And I hope that makes sense. I don't know if I'm just going on and I'm making no sense, but I hope that makes sense. Another thing that I want to talk about is something that's brought up quite a bit when people talk about the equal rights of women in Islam. I hear the example, say, of in the Quran how inheritance is divided between men and women, and how men get more of it, right? And people claim that this is not equal, that this is unfair to the women, and it's oppression in a sense. Well, before you just hear a certain quote from the Quran or something and immediately jump on it and say, oh, look, that's not equal, think about it logically. 1400 years ago, and even in many societies today, including the West, for a large part of the West, maybe not the majority, but men are the caretakers, and they are the ones who make the money and provide for the family. And this is something that's traditional, and that's how it is in many societies today, and many families in the West, maybe not so much in the West anymore, and especially 1400 years ago. When a woman made any money in that society, she did not Islamically have to spend any of the money that she makes on her family. She can spend it all on herself. So the men got more inheritance so that they could provide for their families and also take care of their parents, because that is something that's obligated onto them. So that's something I wanted to bring up. So that is why it is that way, and Allah, of course, knows best. Another example, if you look in Islam, one of the highest women in Islam is Khadija, the Prophet ﷺ's first wife. And if you study Khadija and the kind of woman she was, I think you'll be quite surprised, especially how she was for that time as well, 1400 years ago, when pre-Islam women were treated, before Islam came, were treated very badly. Female babies were buried and stuff like this. Okay, so Khadija was a widow, which was even looked down upon in our society until the last 20 years, our society being America, Canada, the West. But yes, she was a widow, and she was a very wealthy widow, and she was in charge of her own money, and she was a very powerful woman, and she was the Prophet ﷺ's first wife, and his only wife for many years until she passed away. And that's another example of the status of women in Islam. And I also wanted to bring up the point, something that I hear about a lot. I'm not quite sure, but why in our society is it looked down upon when a woman wants to stay at home and raise the kids, take care of the family? That is seen as something that's oppressive in our society here. But I see it quite opposite, actually. To expect a woman to take care of the kids, to give birth, a man doesn't have to do this, right? Only women have to do this. To give birth to children, which is a very big self-sacrifice, to take care of the children and the house and the husband, and also go out there and work all day. I think that's oppression. To expect a woman to do the job of a man and a woman, I view that as oppression, more so. I mean, many women do this, and many women like to do this, and there's no problem with that. She should have the choice to do what she wishes to do. But those are just my thoughts, and let me know what you guys think, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Thank you.